The Danish Viking fleet approaches the mighty Seine, sails billowing ominously in the wind. Sigurd rallies his men, echoing his battle cry amid the oppressive silence of dawn. The French knights stand resolute upon the city walls, aware of the looming threat. Fresh messages of warning echo through the city as the Vikings draw closer. Sigurd orders his men to prepare for a fierce attack, sharpening their weapons. A victorious battle cry resounds as the Vikings launch their first wave at dawn. The French knights brace for the onslaught, steel glinting in the morning light. The clash of swords and shields begins as the first Vikings reach the shore. Sigurd fights fiercely, dispatching his enemies with surprising agility. The young French knight leads a counter-assault, striking with valor. As the battle rages, casualties fall on both sides beneath the merciless sky. Sigurd sees an opportunity and motions his warriors to regroup. The French defenders strategize as they brace for impending Viking charges. Sigurd's men lift the siege ladders, climbing towards the walls of Paris. The French defenders pour boiling oil onto the ladders, desperate to defend their home. Sigurd hears the roar of his men as they surge closer to the wall. The boiling oil spills over, igniting chaos among the Vikings below. Amidst the burning chaos, Sigurd rallies his men to push onwards. The French knights, buoyed by their defense, display renewed vigor. A fierce counterattack from the French catches the Vikings off guard. Sigurd, wounded but undeterred, continues to lead his men valiantly. The situation escalates as night begins to fall. Dark clouds gather overhead. With night falling, both sides prepare for an all-out assault at dawn. As night deepens, secrets and vows are shared among warriors. The French defenders share tales of past glories, igniting their fighting spirit. Sigurd gazes upon the city of Paris, his expression stern and contemplative. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Sigurd's warriors, weary yet determined, gathered to strategize their next move under the flickering light of torches. The French defender positions himself atop the wall, rallying his men with a battle cry that echoes through the tense silence of dusk. Sigurd breathes deeply, feeling the weight of leadership before he begins to share stories of past victories to rally his troops. Inspired by Sigurd's words, the warriors gather their strength, sharpening their axes and readying their bows, fueled by a fierce surge of Viking spirit. The drums of war beat steadily, vibrating through the hearts of the Vikings as they prepare to launch another assault on the city walls. As Viking arrows rain down, chaos erupts. The young French knight urgently shouts orders to maintain the defense and protect the city. The first clash of axes against swords rings out, a cacophony that signals the chaos of battle as Sigurd leads the charge to ward the wall. Amidst the turmoil, a fierce battle between Sigurd and the young French knight ensues, their weapons clashing violently. As the French defenders push back, Sigurd's eyes burn with fury, fueling his determination to claim victory. The boiling oil rains down from the wall, hitting the Vikings and creating panic as Sigurd shouts for his men to regroup. As well as witnessing the panic, the young French knight steels himself against the wave of Viking rage and prepares for the next clash. The tide of battle shifts as both sides rally, fighting with renewed vigor under the watch of the stars. The fighting intensifies, but Sigurd manages to push his way to the front, eyes set on the young knight who has garnered respect among his men. As dawn begins to break, Sigurd feels the weight of the battle, yet remains undaunted, pushing against the flow to reach his foe. The young French knight, unwavering in his commitment, prepares for an intense duel with Sigurd, knowing it could change the tide of battle. With the dawn's light illuminating the battlefield, Sigurd and the young knight charge towards one another across the rubble-laden ground. Their blades finally meet, the sound echoing across the embattled grounds, marking the beginning of their fierce rivalry. With each blow exchanged, their mutual respect grows, a silent acknowledgement of each other's strength amidst the chaos. In the backdrop, both sides realize the significance of their champions, pushing them to fight harder for victory. With dawn at their backs, the fight escalates, both warriors pushing themselves to the limits of their strength and determination. As their duel reaches a fever pitch, both sides rally around their champions, igniting a ferocity that fills the air. With the first light of dawn, Sigurd surveys the chaotic battlefield, fervor in his heart. The Viking spirit is high despite the losses, while the air is thick with the smell of blood and smoke. The French defender, seeing his fallen comrades, steels himself for the coming storm. He raises his sword high, invoking the spirit of Paris as his soldiers cheer, preparing for another clash. Sigurd barks orders, and his men gather their resolve, keen eyes fixed on the looming walls. They sharpen their weapons, a ritual of preparation that fortifies their spirits ahead of a new assault. As the call to arms echoes, the Vikings form lines, shields ready, their battle cry roaring in unison, resonating through the cold air like thunder. The battle begins anew, with arrows raining from above, creating a desperate scene where both sides fight valiantly for survival and honor. Sigurd leads the charge into the fray, focused on the walls ahead. Within the fierce conflict, Sigurd spots the French knight. The recognition ignites their rivalry into a focused battle between the two, each strike driving the other back. Their duel becomes a focal point. Every clash of steel with steel echoes like thunder, drawing the attention of both Vikings and French defenders, both sides captivated by the intensity. As evening approaches, both warriors, weary yet unyielding, pause, catching their breath, understanding the shared respect forged in battle. Rallying his remaining warriors, Sigurd stirs their emotions, recounting tales of past glories and victories to reignite their fervor for battle. Meanwhile, on the walls, the French knight gathers his comrades, sharing stories of their ancestors, instilling courage as night begins to envelop the battlefield. As night slips deeper, both factions prepare for the uncertainty of the coming dawn, exhaustion creeping in, yet their spirits remain unbroken. In the stillness of the night, Sigurd strategizes intensely, focusing on the weak points of the walls as he gathers the remnants of his warriors for one final assault. The French defenders, too, form plans under the dark sky, their faces stern as they reflect the urgency of the night and the need to protect their homeland. With the dawn of a new day, the Vikings prepare for their final assault, invigorated by the clashes of earlier skirmishes and tales from the night. The French knight stands resolute on the walls, preparing his men as the sun gradually rises, each heartbeat synchronized with the excitement of impending combat. The clash of the final assault echoes through Paris as both sides launch into a fierce rage, unwilling to yield, their spirits ignited as tales of valor fill the air. In the midst of the chaos, Sigurd and the French knight find themselves confronting each other once more, their determination palpable as they dart and lunge in combat. In a moment of escalation, both warriors deliver fierce blows, bloodied but unwavering, with a shared understanding of the honor in their struggle. Around them, the battle rages on, the cries of both men echoing through the streets of Paris as their warriors channel their strength into the conflict ahead. Finally, as evening casts its long shadows, both warriors pause, their battle-scarred bodies reflecting the toll of the day, yet their spirits remain indomitable. In that quiet moment they nod, a silent agreement of respect forged stronger than their enmity, acknowledging the legacy they will carry from this battle.